Streamers, gamers, and moviegoers, what's going on, guys? I'm the Messiah, this is Messiah Entertainment, and today we are reviewing Captain America Civil War. Guys, the much anticipated superhero movie, the one that we've all been waiting for. We have a lot to talk about, so first off, let's start off with the story. Guys, it's Civil War. It's the story we've all been waiting for from Marvel. Or one of them anyway. The Avengers is divided. Captain America is leading the charge against registration. Iron Man is leading the charge pro-registration. Obviously a few changes, you know, it's the Sokovia Accords in this one instead of the Superhero Registration Act, and then, you know, the circumstances revolving it are obviously different. They're based off the previous movies like Avengers and Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron and stuff like that, and then, you know, that's why they want to do it. And it makes so much sense. It's so good here. And the greatest thing about this movie is how well you see each person's perspective. You know Captain America's side. I tend to be a bit more towards his side of the registration argument, but Iron Man's side totally makes sense as well, you know, with the things that he's been through the previous movies, the things he's seen, the perspective, the people he's spoken to. It makes sense why he does what he does. It doesn't villainize any side. I know this movie's called Captain America Civil War, but that doesn't mean Tony Stark is just painted in a totally terrible light. Captain America, you have to scratch your head and be like, hey man, do you know what you're doing? I mean, again, I sided more with Captain America on this one, but even certain points in this movie made me scratch my head and say, hey, I'm not sure if I'm on the right side. And it was supposed to do that. That's how a civil war works. It's the two sides of the same group of people and they're fighting for what they think is right, and there's no right answer. Pro-registration isn't really painted as being right, neither is anti-registration really painted as being right. Until some of the later portions where it kind of goes a bit more over into Captain America being right and then Tony Stark. But it's not for the entire movie. For the most part, you're pretty split evenly down the middle. And this movie's story works so well in conjunction with the previous movies. It doesn't feel like this one isolated event inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like just out of nowhere this conflict happens. No, it plays off of some of the things that have been placed in the previous movies, from Winter Soldier and the Iron Man films and Avengers, Age of Ultron and the first one. And then it kind of just, you know, shows it as if this pot has been boiling to the top and it's overflowing now. And don't even get me started on all the character stories in this movie. I mean, everybody has like really cool moments in this movie. You know, I heard it in tons of reviews before going into this, and I was like, how could they do everybody? There has to be somebody that's just a little overshadowed. And yeah, not everybody gets equal amounts of screen time. Obviously, like Captain America and Iron Man are getting the most, but it doesn't make it feel like, you know, oh, this character was such a throwaway. I feel like if any one character had not really been in this movie, I would have been missing something. Whether it be a cool action scene or a funny moment, I just felt like everybody had a nice little role in here. Ant-Man, who has really never been with the Avengers before and really is only there for maybe like 2 scenes for an action scene and then some dialogue scenes. Ant-Man, who's not as big of a superhero as some of the other guys, you know, he's only really been in one movie and he was kind of doing a more local thing. He was, you know, working with Hank Pym. You know, he has a few moments in here that just had me dying laughing. And I love it. I loved having him in this movie, and if he wasn't in this movie, the movie just wouldn't feel as good. And then characters like Black Panther, oh my freaking god, Black Panther. This dude, I mean, oh my god, he is a total freaking awesome character. I loved it, I loved him. His storyline in the movie completely worked 100%, and then his action scenes in the movie, oh my god, the claws, the running scenes, the scenes of him jumping across the buildings and fighting with Winter Soldier, it was just done so well. And, you know, with someone who's never been introduced in a movie like this before, I really felt like I got in touch with this character a lot. Like a lot. Like I felt like I'd already seen a movie and had already gotten invested in his character, which is weird because we've never seen him before on screen. Yet I love the character so much, and I'm super excited to see what they're gonna do in the Black Panther solo film. Honestly, I can't wait. People like Hawkeye, who, yeah, I mean, honestly, you kind of think of him as kind of the throwaway character. I'm sorry. I mean, I like the dude, but, you know, he's honestly not on the level of some of the other heroes on the team. You know, even he has some cool action moments. You see some of them in the trailer, but they're just really cool. And if he wasn't in this movie, it would feel wrong. Everybody in here has their cool moments, and they're all put in like the right amount of time, you know what I mean? There's not too much Ant-Man, there's not too much Hawkeye, there's not too much Black Widow. It's just the perfect amount of time for all of them, for them to have their cool action scenes, for them to have their funny scenes, for them to do everything that they need to do. It's just perfect. And it's just so awesome to see on screen all of the Marvel heroes collaborating with each other like this. I mean, I was looking at one of the TV spots the other day after I'd seen the movie, and I was watching Captain America fight with Spider-Man. Captain America fight with Spider-Man. Honestly, if you had taken that TV spot and shown it to somebody, like a comic book fan like myself, 2 years ago, they probably would have lost their minds. Just screaming and yelling and going, oh my god, this is the future of Marvel, good things are coming. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so amazing to watch all of these superheroes. Ant-Man fighting with Spider-Man, Captain America fighting with Spider-Man, and them having a conversation. It's almost unfathomable, but it's happening, and it's so freaking awesome to watch. It hits me in the theater when, you know, in the movie there's like, Ant-Man becomes Giant Man, and then Spider-Man's crawling on his head, and then Iron Man punches Ant-Man in the face, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is really happening. All this superhero-ness is really on screen, unfolding before us in an actual movie. My mind was kind of blown after that. And the Russo brothers do a really great job of all the superheroes' action in this movie. You know, Scarlet Witch does some really cool things with her powers. Falcon does some really cool things with his powers or his suit. Black Panther has some really cool things with his suit and his powers and his vibranium metal claw suit. You know, it's freaking amazing. Winter Soldier has his moments. Captain America and Iron Man definitely have their moments. The whole battle's about them. And their fight scenes, especially at the very end, are very great. Not only are they very awesomely choreographed and special effects wise, it's just on point, but it also has all the emotion behind it, and it hits right here, man. So the story was amazing, the characters were amazing in it, and the action was of course on point. Some of the best action that I think we've seen in a superhero movie ever. A lot of people are saying this could be the best superhero movie ever, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably up there. You know, there's movies like The Dark Knight, maybe one of the earlier Spider-Man movies that kind of hold it up there for my personal favorites. This one is ranking up there. You know, I think that and Civil War are some of the best Marvel movies we've ever gotten. You know what I mean? They were Marvel Cinematic movies anyway, and any kind of Marvel movie, really. Honestly, this movie does so much, and it does it all so well, and it's hard to really find a lot of problems with it. It's really hard. Honestly, I feel like this is the closest to a perfect Marvel superhero action movie that we've ever gotten. Everything is just so well done about this movie. And before I get into maybe one of the few things that I really kind of just wasn't really sure about in this movie, let me talk about the villain, because I know some people were talking about that, and you know, some people had mixed opinions on him. Baron Zemo doesn't really, how do I put this? He's not exactly a villain. I think Collider video said he was more like a plot device, and yeah, he's not the main foe in this movie. He kind of does like the Lex Luthor master manipulator in the background, but here it's just done a lot better. You know, you totally get why he's doing this, and he doesn't create like this third option for the Avengers to come together at the end and then fight. You know what I mean? He's not the main foe in this movie. He's not a brawler. He doesn't have any minions who's fighting for him. He just pulls the strings in the background. Honestly, he's only in really a few scenes, never really with the Avengers themselves, only has about one scene with them, and it's really towards the end, and then nothing really happens to him. The movie is called Civil War. That's all we needed. All we needed was to see Iron Man and Captain America and the respective teams that each superhero goes on to fight. That's all we needed. We don't need some kind of overdrawn kind of, you know, the Avengers conflict, and then, you know, at the end they get back together and they're friends again and they go on to take on this bigger threat. You know what I mean? Batman v Superman. In a movie called Civil War, we don't need anything else but Civil War. And they understood that, the Russo brothers and the people writing this movie and producers and everything, and they got it right. So me, myself, personally, I actually like the villain. Yeah, he wasn't anything special, he wasn't really too memorable or anything, but his motivations make sense, and he's only really there to push the story along, so yeah, I was fine with him. Now, the only thing that I really kind of have I wouldn't say a problem with, but it had me thinking after the movie, and it had me questioning, you know, what the next step in Marvel is going to be. How risky Marvel is willing to get, especially when it comes to like the next movie, the next big movie, Infinity War. Because spoiler alert for this movie, nobody actually dies. There was speculation for a while that like Captain America might kick the bucket, or you know, something tragic may happen and that would split the line between the Avengers. You know what I mean? And then they would have to reconcile during Infinity War as opposed to just really towards the end of this movie. And that doesn't happen. Honestly, by the end of this movie, most of the Avengers, they're still pretty cool. I mean, Black Widow kind of defects back to Captain America's side because she stops Black Panther from catching up to the two. Black Panther becomes friends with Captain America. All the other Avengers were pretty much part of Captain America's team. Spider-Man wasn't really known well enough with the rest of the Avengers. They weren't all friends and buddy-buddy-ish. So, I mean, honestly, you don't really get anything from there. He could honestly come back to the group and, you know, just be like, hey guys, sorry, I didn't really know you guys that much. The only ones who would really have a hard time would probably be who? Vision and, whatchamacallit, Tony Stark. And Tony Stark got the letter, so Captain America's sort of forgiving him, and then he went to the prison and, you know, he admitted that he was wrong and that, you know, Falcon gave him the coordinates for whatever for Captain America. So what I'm saying is, Vision is pretty much the only one who would be the outsider, you know what I mean? He still hasn't really made amends for what he's done. Basically though, they're all pretty much friends again, which honestly, I thought how they were gonna do it was have the team break apart, and then by the time Infinity War came around, they would have to scramble together to get their forces together, which I mean, hey, if you solve that problem in this movie so that we don't have to spend time doing it in Infinity War, that's fine. But what I do hope we see in Infinity War is that a lot more consequential things happen. Like, when something terrible happens in Infinity War, it happens. Like, there is no coming back from it, you know what I mean? The scene that I think everybody's waiting for in the Infinity War movie has to be when the heroes of Earth all take on Thanos, and Thanos absolutely wrecks them. That has to be in the movie in some capacity. There has to be a scene where all the heroes of Earth are getting their behinds handed to them, and it needs to feel like this is truly the greatest threat. They can't, honestly, I don't want them to win that fight. Even if at the end of the movie, or both movies, it ends up being similar to, you know, the comic books where, you know, someone gets their hands on the Infinity Gauntlet and they just, you know, rewind time back to when before Thanos had the glove. I'm fine with that, but I do want to see that scene where the heroes of Earth are dying left and right and they're losing, and they ultimately lose to Thanos. I want to see Marvel take that huge leap, that huge bound over the line of being, you know, safe, where, you know, pretty much the only real character of significance who's died up until this point has been Quicksilver, and we only saw him in one movie. My friend Johnny, who I did a more in-depth review of this movie on his channel, JXB Entertainment, you guys can go check that out. But when we first walked out of the theater, he was a little disappointed that, you know, Captain America hadn't been killed or something like that. Now, we had a bit of an argument or whatever, and a little bit of a debate. It was kind of fun because, you know, like, he was really on the side of, man, they really should have ended the whole Captain America trilogy with him dying. And I was like, well, you know, maybe they're saving that for Infinity War, or, you know, they don't want to have to go through the hassle of having to, you know, bring him back in the next movie like Batman v Superman's doing with Superman. They don't want to have to go through the whole hassle of, you know, this is how he came back, and then, you know, if they kill him in this movie and they have to kill him again in Infinity War, it's gonna seem cheap. It's gonna feel like there's no stakes there. And we went back and forth, and he sort of changed his mind at the end, you know? Now he kind of feels like he's kind of glad that they didn't do it in this movie so that they don't have to set anything up in Infinity War, but we're both on the same opinion of Infinity War needs to take like these 5 large steps forward. You know, every time it's only been about an inch forward, 1 step forward of taking risks inside their movies, and, you know, they've still paid off. The movies are still so spectacular, and they're doing it way better than any superhero franchise is right now. But I still want to see them take those 5 leaps forward, you know what I mean? I want to see them kill off major characters. I want to see them really feel the consequences of this battle. You know, Thanos is a force to be reckoned with. He can't be like these other dudes of just, you know, okay, we're gonna fight him, he's gonna kick our behinds a little bit, and then we're gonna group back together, and then, you know, we're gonna fight this battle, and we're gonna win, and maybe some unconsequential character is gonna kick the bucket. That can't be what happens here. What we need to see here is Thanos absolutely wreck these fools. But staying on the topic of this movie, it was something that we kind of thought about them going the extra step in this movie, but, you know, at the end of the day, we felt like it was kind of just unnecessary for them to do it. Honestly, it was still a very great movie regardless of them not taking those extra steps, and yeah, and possibly one of the best superhero movies of all time. I think I have to see it again, maybe 1 or 2 more times or something like that, and then think about what my other favorite superhero movies of all time are. I know Dark Knight, the second one, is definitely in there, but I have to compare. I can't say so right now, but I really just have to think about it. But rest assured, this is a really great superhero movie. It definitely lives up to the expectation and the hype that I think was behind this movie, and it delivers on pretty much all the bases that we were hoping it would be on. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 9.5 out of 10.
Flawless victory.
This movie delivers on the action, it delivers on the characters, and it delivers on the story. It is so well done from a directing or writing standpoint. It's just everything about this movie is so good, and it does things so much better than its competitors in the market, than its predecessors in the same universe. You know, movies like Age of Ultron attempted to like set up further movies, but they did it in such a way where it just kind of, it didn't fit into the story very well. You had that whole thing with Thor, and it just kind of felt like it was a plot line that was being left off to fill in other movies. Here it doesn't feel like that. It feels like things are set up, but they're really well tied together, and they just get you excited for the next movie. Like Black Panther's storyline in this movie, it gets tied up. You know, his whole thing of revenge for his father's death, that gets tied up in this movie. But you don't feel like, you know, oh, okay, well, he's gonna go on to get more revenge later on in the next movie. No, he's clear with this storyline. There's going to be a brand new original storyline in the movie, his solo movie that comes out in a few years, but that storyline is done for him, okay? Everything is so tied up well in a nice bow tie, and then, you know, every plot line is very well put together and very well ended in this movie. And remembering, this is the end of the Captain America trilogy. You know what I mean? It started in the first Avenger and it ends here, and it's really great. Russo brothers, my hat's off to you guys, and I can't wait to see what you guys are doing with Infinity War. I'm really just super excited. You guys have given us like the 2 best, absolute best films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So to see what you guys are gonna do with the biggest installment, the thing that everything has been leading up to, I think you guys are gonna do a great job. So I can't wait to see what you guys do with it. So I definitely, absolutely, 100% love this movie. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure you guys got your own. Let me know in the comment section down below. What did you guys think of Captain America Civil War? Did you love it? Did you hate it? As always, you guys can follow me on Vine, Twitter, Movie Pilot, and Twitch. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. I'm Messiah. This is Messiah Entertainment. Peace.